Teddy Roosevelt 2019 is not monetized. Please like, subscribe, and share so more viewers will see this information.
Recent trade deals,
Yes.
and some not so recent. Do you believe as president you would have the authority to unravel some of them?
Yeah, I think, look, for Vermont, for Iowa, and for virtually the entire country, trade agreements like NAFTA, CAFTA, and permanent normal trade relations with China have by and large been a disaster. I voted against all of them, and I'm helping to lead the effort right now against the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
It has not taken President Donald Trump long to jump into his new role, feet first. On this first Monday of his first week in office, the president set about to fulfill some campaign promises that got him elected.
With the stroke of his executive pen, President Donald Trump fulfilled a central campaign promise and killed one of President Obama's signature trade deals, the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Great thing for the American worker, what we just did.
These trade agreements were written by corporate America, were written by Wall Street. The goal was to shut down plants in America, to stop having to pay workers in Iowa, Vermont, this country, decent wages, move to China, pay people low wages, and bring their products back to America.
But supported by Democratic administrations.
You're quite right. Many of these policies, you're absolutely right. Many of these policies were supported by not only Republicans, by President Clinton, and unfortunately President Obama. They are bad policies. They are opposed by and large by every trade union in this country, and I believe by the majority of the American people. At the end of the day, the American worker should not be forced to compete against people in Vietnam who make 56 cents an hour minimum wage.
Which side you came down on really depended on whether you thought post-September the 11th we had to be change makers or whether we could still be managers. Up to September the 11th, we've been managing this issue. After September the 11th, we decided we had to confront and change.
When Tony Blair was trying yet again to justify the invasion of Iraq, he said he just had to be a change maker. This phrase exploits the happy implications of freedom and improvement in the term change, while at the same time obscuring or unspeaking the uncomfortable truth that change actually meant starting a war. How in unspoken, it's a winning strategy to say you're in favor of something that no one in their right mind would be against. If you disagree with the environmental group called Friends of the Earth, then you must be an enemy of the Earth. If you don't like Greenpeace, you must want brown war. And if you were skeptical of Barack Obama's gloriously vacuous election slogan,
"Yes, we can,"
then you were just some unwashed pessimist squatting in the corner, grumbling, "No, actually, we can't."
In the last 20 years, 55,000 American factories have closed, fired their workers, moved to China, to Vietnam, to Indonesia, to the Dominican Republic. They say that 6 million jobs were permanently lost due to this process. Chinese workers make our toys and make virtually everything sold in Walmart, and they get paid $3 an hour. In Bangladesh, women are making clothes that are sold in Target and JCPenney. They earn $36 a month. That's about 25 cents an hour for that shirt that you bought at JCPenney. Now, Detroit is a very good example of this process. We don't have a name for it yet. In Detroit, in 1960, Detroit was an incredibly vibrant city. They had 290,000 manufacturing jobs.
My dad, an assembly line worker at General Motors, bought and paid for our house before I graduated from kindergarten. We had a new car every 3 years. We went to New York every other summer. That's me on Wall Street. And that's me directing my first movie at the World's Fair. We went to Catholic schools. We lived a good life.
Today, there are 27,000 manufacturers. 90% of the manufacturing jobs left Detroit.
General Motors confirmed it today. It is going to close plants employing almost 30,000 workers.
Today,
we are announcing the closing of 11 of our older plants.
While Detroit and Pontiac will certainly be hurt by the shutdowns, the effect on Flint is absolutely devastating.
Devastating wasn't the half of it. I mean, maybe I got this wrong, but I thought companies lay off people when they've hit hard times. GM was the richest company in the world, and it was closing factories when it was making profits in the billions.
We do not have any plan to cut our workforce by 80,000. That was kind of a what happens if type of thing.
So this was GM chairman Roger Smith, and he appeared to have a brilliant plan. First, close 11 factories in the U.S., then open 11 in Mexico, where you pay the workers 70 cents an hour. Then use the money you've saved by building cars in Mexico to take over other companies, preferably high-tech firms and weapons manufacturers. Next, tell the union you're broke, and they happily agree to give back a couple $2 billion in wage cuts. You then take that money from the workers and eliminate their jobs by building more foreign factories. Roger Smith was a true genius.
There's a brand new Ford factory, state-of-the-art, beautiful, makes 250,000 Ford Focuses every year. But guess where it's located? It's located in Hermosillo, Mexico. And they make 250,000 Fords there and send them to the United States duty-free. Detroiters don't like that.
Best thing Miss can do and General Motors can do is get rid of Roger Smith and them other son of a bitches.
I'm sick and tired of these damn fat cats. I could say a few choice words, but I'm a lady and I was raised a lady, so...
The average wage paid to those workers in that factory is $3 an hour. Well, this is 2013, and that's where Fords are made today. And the result is, it's not that General Motors was making gas guzzlers. It's partly true, but 90% of Detroit's good jobs left. And Detroit closed 50% of its schools, okay? It currently is in bankruptcy.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long.
Some disturbing news today from the Genesee County Health Department. It announced the rat population in Flint has now surpassed the human population by 50,000. Health officials say that's due to the massive numbers of people leaving Flint and the city cutting back to twice monthly garbage collection due to budget constraints.
So what do you call this? Detroiters don't like what happened, okay? But this is the name given for this process. It's called globalization and it's called free trade. So what do you think about globalization? Oh, I think I like globalization. That sounds modern. That sounds international. I think I support globalization. How do you feel about free trade? Oh, I'm in favor of free trade. I like anything that's free, you know? I think that's a good thing.
Globalization has created enormous opportunities for the American economy. It's created jobs in exporting industries that pay higher than average. It's given consumers access to a wide range of goods at better prices. But globalization has also created a lot of challenges for the economy and has almost certainly contributed to the increase in inequality we've seen in the last couple decades.
And so, bad things are made to sound sweet and nice with reframing. Here's a little video on this subject.
Put it, euphemistic language that conceals reality.
Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're broke.
And today, America's love affair with semantics has given birth to a new phrase to describe the rich.
Job creators in America basically are on strike. Increasing taxes on job creators. This administration and this president, policies are hostile to job creators.
Instead of just saying the wealthy who make over $250,000 a year, if you say job creator, then you say, well, we can't raise their taxes. They're the ones who create jobs. When in reality, when their taxes were higher under Bill Clinton, 3 times as many jobs were created.
The propensity to add softer terms to the English lexicon has surged over the decades, particularly when it comes to military-related language.
Damaging euphemisms, like when instead of saying innocent civilians were killed, In a drone strike, you say there was collateral damage. Collateral damage, which to me is the worst expression. No, it's innocent men, women, and children were killed. And the collateral damage sounds like a real estate transaction.
Allied soldiers shooting each other has become known as
Friendly fire.
kidnapping, and transferring a terrorist suspect is called
Extraordinary rendition.
and the torture America's war prisoners might endure is referred to as
Enhanced interrogation.
Unspeak is also useful for covering up blame. Since the financial crisis struck, we've heard repeatedly that many thousands of jobs have been lost.
They're stealing from the poor who need all their things to live and giving it all to the rich. Makes no sense.
The use of loss here is unspeak. It implies unlucky accident, and it conceals responsibility. What has actually been happening is that companies have been deliberately firing their workers. So there is an asymmetry in the public language. Employers like to claim credit when they hire people for job creation.
Tell me, Mr. Adams, how much experience have you had in the hardware business?
But when they sack people, the media doesn't talk about widespread job destruction. We don't hear that thousands of jobs have been destroyed. Instead, we're told that jobs are merely being lost, perhaps down the back of the sofa. So unspeak is a name for something, but it's not a neutral name. It's trying to smuggle in a particular point of view and silence any possible dissent. It's especially useful when you want to divert attention from violence, as when Tony Blair claimed that attacking Iraq was just being a change maker. Blair has also often said that he had to remove Saddam Hussein, as though a giant hand just descended from the sky and delicately plucked the dictator out of one of his palaces. George Orwell thought that in the right hands, language could be as clear as a window pane. It can't. Every word is a rhetorical choice and comes cocooned in a web of associations and ideas. But the choice of these associations can be more or less deceptive. Unspeak is language that deliberately loads the dice. War on terror, weapons of mass destruction, climate change, failed asylum seekers, file sharing, austerity measures, oil spill, erectile dysfunction. Once we tune into Unspeak, we start seeing and hearing it everywhere. And then, perhaps, we can fight back.